Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and we have a maintenance notice when you log in, which means we have patch notes for the Love and Thunder update. And you can see there the maintenance begins in about 10.5 or 11 hours, and then the maintenance is about 8 hours. So we're less than 24 hours from the drop of the update. Now, what is the update going to contain? Well, here's where we may get into some mixed feelings. So here we go. Let's jump into the patch notes now here, guys. I believe the maintenance is like another 7 or 8 hours as it usually is. So it'll be live like 2-3 a.m. Eastern time. I will be live as soon as the update is live. For those of you wondering, just follow me on twitch.tv/Cynicalex and you'll get an email or pop-up notification when I go live on Twitch. And then we'll dive into the update live and, explore everything. But what I'm taking issue with here is that on the front and at the beginning of the patch notes, it says, in celebration of the premiere of Thor Love and Thunder, we have prepared an update full of heroes and villains. And there's only there's only heroes. There's no villains. I guess you could sort of call Scourge a villain, but that's it. And I want to break it to you now in advance that there is no mention of Gorr at all, except for in the legendary battle. I'm a little bit worried now. I hate this like back and forth. I'm worried. I'm not worried. I'm worried. I'm not worried. As much as I hate to say it, because I'm not a huge fan of data mining, I really hope that when the update lands, the people that data mine find mention of Gorr as a character with skills and passives and things like that, so I can finally lower my heart rate to an acceptable level. Because I really don't want to spaz out for no Gorr. So yeah, let's check out the reworks here. We got Thor, Jane Foster Thor, and we're just gonna call her Mighty Thor. Okay, we got Thor, Mighty Thor, and Valkyrie getting new uniforms. To be honest, there are some people that are going to be and that are already disappointed with Thor's rework. But remember, he gets to go to level 80, and then he gets to go to tier 4. Now, as much as I was disappointed with Moon Knight's rework on some level, we may see the same sort of issue with Thor, where his uniform doesn't actually feel like that much of an upgrade compared to then when you get him to level 80. But then when he gets to level 80, he's going to be like, top 3 universals. And then when he gets to tier 4, he might be the best character in the game. So you have to sort of balance your expectations knowing that. It is kind of frustrating, though. So yeah, he gets chain hit, he gets damage reduction, incoming damage reduction, and then he gets his skill damage bonus damage. His ultimate skill does get some changes. They don't seem to be very noteworthy stuff. It's just like effects that are not going to apply in GBR and not going to apply in World Boss Legend. His passive now gives him ignore, dodge, and lightning damage. Honestly, I haven't checked Herald Thor's passives in a long time, so I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, he just had lightning damage, so he gets a little bit more lightning damage, and he gets an extra 35% ignore dodge. That's really nice to just get that passive just right off the bat. He keeps the penetration and he keeps the lightning damage. I think they kept it at 65%, so that hasn't increased there. He keeps the V-pad on Mjolnir Rush, so he has that second skill where he sort of moves around. I love that, which is great. It seems like 2 and 3 are basically the same in terms of the animation and in terms of the effects. He just has the guard hit. On his 4th skill now, he has a 25% heal. We're going to wait and see where this applies, because he does have a heal. He has a 20% heal on his 4th skill now. But remember, he has to charge it up, and it's at the end of the skill. If this is a heal that happens at the beginning of the skill, that's much better. And from what I see from the video, there was a sort of like a live stream video kind of thing with these like disembodied text-to-speech voices. Sorry to Tom and I think Lucy. But this skill seems cancelable. So if you can cancel it and get all of these buffs and get that heal right away, it'll make his gameplay a lot smoother. And why I mentioned smooth gameplay is because people are freaking out over the cooldowns. It's a 17-second cooldown here, and it's a 20-second cooldown on Wrath of the Thunder God. That's a long cooldown. I'm not a big fan of cooldowns that are that long. I'm be honest with you, I'm not. Right now, he has a 16-second cooldown on his 5th skill, but he does have a 24-second cooldown on his 4th skill. So that is a total of 40 seconds. When you add these together, it's a total of 37. So he is getting lower cooldowns than before, but 10 seconds is still a long time to wait. However, his accumulation does have a 10-second buff duration, so you'll be able to keep the accumulation up all the time. Now, the accumulation is 0.8, which is higher than the base accumulation of his 4th skill. But remember, you can charge up his 4th skill to give you more accumulation if you hold the skill for longer. So I'm not sure if this is actually going to, like I don't know if this is going to end up being a buff or a nerf. I don't want to talk about nerfs because people are going to freak out again. I do think he's going to be stronger. I do think this uniform is going to be stronger than Herald Thor. I don't think it's going to be like a colossal jump, right? I don't think it's going to be like night and day. It's going to be like a 25% increase in damage. He's going to be like 30 seconds faster, and people are going to be like, this is not worth it. But then, of course, just like Moon Knight, we get him to level 80, and people are like, oh, and he's suddenly a god, right? So just wait for that, and we'll see. Maybe they're going to have to tweak the cooldown a little bit on these skills to lower them a little bit, but let's just wait and see. And then Mighty Thor is getting a just top to bottom rework. She's been garbage since she came out, so this should be insane. She gives herself crit damage reduction from villains, to all allies with the shock ability. So she becomes a support as well, which is kind of cool. She gives everyone with the shock ability, so that's like Thor, herself, Beta Ray Bill, stuff like that. There's quite a few. She gives them ignore, dodge, and 40% lightning damage. So that's going to put Thor, when you put them together, at over 100% lightning. Crazy. Then she has just some generic skills. She gets accumulation as well. It's a 21-second cooldown, which is very, very long. But we'll have to wait and see. It is a 1% accumulation for 10 seconds. So that is nice. But yeah, 21 seconds is a very long time. And then 19 seconds on Thunder Raid and 17 seconds. So the pattern here is the buffs seem to be quite strong. She's got a 15% heal here. She's got a 40% buff for attack here. She's also got a frenzy buff with a 50-50 basic attack. By the way, Thor has a 65-65 buff. So if people are complaining about the buffs, don't complain about the buffs. 65-65 is nuts. But yeah, for Thor Jane Foster, very long cooldowns, 19 seconds, 17 seconds, quite long here. But again, they're both built, they seem to be both built for PvE. There's no counterattack, there's no iframe ignore, so these should be PvE gods, okay? And what I want you to remember about Thor for later is remember the percentage of the buffs. 25% on the heal, and then 65%, and then 0.8 on the basic attack. I want you to remember that because it actually does matter. And then for Valkyrie, it's interesting because in the Disembodied live stream, they did acknowledge the fact that players are wondering if Valkyrie is going to stay a support type or if she's going to actually be a damage dealer now. So I really like the fact that they acknowledge that, and I think them acknowledging it means that they are trying to move her to be a damage dealer and a support, which is really nice. So she keeps, or she gets, I don't remember, guaranteed crit, skill damage, bonus damage, and damage reduction. She gets a heal now, so now her leadership, but it only applies to her. It's kind of weird. It's a leadership, but it only applies to Valkyrie. At least I think, because it says applies to self. So maybe it applies to all allies, which would be really, really, really cool, as long as they use a bleed skill. Okay? But it may only apply to Valkyrie. I'm not 100% sure. But when she uses a bleed skill, at least for Valkyrie, I know for sure, she'll get a 15% heal, and she'll get 15% chain hit damage for 10 seconds. And she has 3 skills, I believe, that cause bleed. Her second skill, her 4th skill causes bleed. Okay, 2 skills that cause bleed. But still, I think it's a really cool, unique leadership. I really like it. Her passive stays the same. I think it's increased a little bit, like 5% here and 5% here. So she still has those support abilities. She now has a counterattack skill on her 3rd with iframe ignore. So she could be used for PvP. It has a lot of abilities. It has a lot of buffs. It has accumulation based on damage dealt with a 1.1% increase for 9 seconds on a 16-second cooldown. So they buffed Valkyrie quite well. So this should be quite nice for Valkyrie. She gets a 40-40 frenzy buff here, 16 seconds. So her cooldowns are quite nice. 16, 16, 16. They're all 8 seconds. It's going to mean that you're not going to have a lot of things to do in between your rotations because her 3 best skills are all on the exact same cooldown timer. So she might play a little bit like Loki, where it's like 3-4-5 or whatever, 3-5-4 or 3-4-5. And then you just wait, and then you run around a little bit, and then you pop it again, right? It's going to sort of feel like that. But yeah, it should be nice. Should be good. Thor Jane Foster's getting her tier 3. Tier 3, again, seems pretty lackluster. Like, whatever. The skill effects don't really matter anymore for tier 3s, to be honest. The animation looks really cool. It looks nice. She flies around. It's very Thor-ish. She flies around back and forth and slams into the ground with the hammer multiple times. So that should be nice, and see how much damage that does. We have potential awakening and no uniform. Yay! Psych. That's sarcasm. For Angela, Scourge, and Destroyer. I don't think Angela and Scourge are going to have any value whatsoever except for story mode fragment farming. However, I do think Destroyer is going to have value. And he's going to have value in the same meme way that he has value now as a Reflect champion for PvP. And I'll explain why in just a little bit. But just remember that he's getting a Transcendence, which means he's going to be getting a stat bump, which means more HP, more energy attack to reflect more damage. Okay? The Awakening Seal for them honestly looks pretty cool. Angela slashes, then Scourge slashes, then Destroyer comes in and blasts a beam. And so with her slash and his slash, it looks like an X, and then Destroyer kind of beams through it. So I kind of like that aspect of it. It's got some nice aesthetic abilities, and it's got some nice colors. It's got orange, red, purple. But I do feel bad that none of them are getting uniforms. I really hope that the devs do for these characters, and Elsa, and Vulture, and Sandman, and Clea, and Caecilius. I really hope the devs do for these characters what they did for Silk, what they did for Sif, what they did for Heimdall. Like, these characters do deserve uniforms, at least on some level. Then we have Thor's tier 4. Now, remember when I said you want to pay attention to Thor's buffs, right? 65% attack and defense on the Frenzy, 25% heal. Why does that matter? Because his tier 4 ability is going to give him 50% increased elemental damage for 10 seconds, and it's going to increase active buff effects by 10%. Now, 10% seems very low, but that's because it's a level 1 striker skill. So if you recall here, we're just going to take a really quick sidebar to go over to Moon Knight. When you look at the buff that he gets from Iron Man, when it's maxed out, it's a 30% heal, and it's a 120% attack buff. Okay? So when I take him off, how do I remove him? That drops to a 20% heal, and it drops to a 70% buff. So the buff at the bottom almost doubles from 70 to 120, and then the heal goes from 20 to 30. Okay? So that means that the elemental buff and the active buff that Thor gets should go up quite a bit. So even if that increased buff effect only goes up by like 10 or 20% to 20 or 30%, that's still really huge because it's going to be 20 or 30% of the 65%. So you know how, and the active buff effect could also include CTP effects, right? So like it reminds me of the passive effects that Lizard, Captain Marvel, and Rogue have, right? Increases all, but theirs is all buff effect and duration. So this one doesn't increase the duration, but it increases the effect. I don't know if the active buff is actually going to increase CTPs as well. It might, but it's definitely going to increase all of his own buffs, like his frenzy buffs, his accumulation buff, and maybe his heal buff. That should be quite cool, right? So when he pops the tier 4, he's like supercharged. That should be nice. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I was initially scared. I'm like, 10%, that sucks. But then I realized it's a level 1 skill, and that's why it looks kind of lackluster. Again, I don't think the devs are doing a good job of selling the tier 4. It's sort of up to us, the content creators, to sell the tier 4. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But like, they should have a little graphic here showing the tier 4 animation, right? Like Moon Knight's was the moon or whatever. Like, they should do something like that. And then we have the new legendary battle. This is where I get worried because this is the only part where they mention Gorr. You're going to get a free 6-star Jane Foster from this legendary battle. So if you don't have Jane Foster yet, don't get her, because you'll get her for free at 6 stars after the update. If you already have her, you don't get anything. So yeah. And then we have the extreme pack for the legendary battle. So thankfully, legendary battles are back. I made a video a month ago saying that maybe legendary battles were over and they're gone forever because we didn't get one for Multiverse of Madness, but now we're getting one for Thor: Love and Thunder. So I'm not really sure how to feel. On the one hand, I'm happy. On the other hand, I'm scared that Gorr is only going to exist in the legendary battle and not be a playable character. Yeah, the extreme, the sort of like the extreme legendary battle that you buy for 2,500 crystals. It's actually 2,000 crystals because you get 500 refunded from the rewards. Looks pretty cool. We saw some of the clips from the live stream. I do like, and you do see Gorr right there, I do like what the missions look like. It does give you kind of like a Stranger Things vibe because they're fighting in like a town and there's like these dark monsters. So I like that, and I honestly liked Stranger Things Season 4. But yeah, it does seem to also follow the vibe of the trailer, so it will sort of feel like the movie. Like I said, you get 500 crystals back if you buy it. The rewards for the Extreme Pack are both good and bad. You get 200 Awakening Crystals, which is quite nice, 100 CCF. You get a 4-star version of Thor's Artifact, which is great. You get a special icon, and you get a rank 6 potential ticket. However, the CTP this time around is pretty lame. It's a CTP of Greed. I would have much rather it be a Judgment, or maybe even a Rage, or maybe just a CTP selector. Like, you know, just give players the choice to choose whatever they want. So yeah, I think the Rage is going to piss people off or just disappoint them. But honestly, everything else in here is good. I like everything else in here. Obviously, like, there's some bad rewards, like 90 upgrade kits, whatever. But like, you know, you're looking at the big rewards, not the small rewards. So I'm pretty, you know, I'm happy with this legendary battle. I think it could be better. I think it could be a lot worse. But I'm worried about Gorr and where he is and if he's actually going to appear as a character. Because if he's in the legendary battle, that means he's probably not going to be a world boss legend. And then I'm just not sure if we're going to get him at all as a character. And so that just kind of, that's going to ruin the rest of this video, so I'm not going to think about it anymore. Anyways, they're adding a ranking system, a daily ranking system to Multiverse Invasion. What does this mean for players that autoplay? Basically nothing. You're going to continue to autoplay, and you're just going to get free gold. So this is a great rework because it doesn't change anything. It just adds more stuff, which is always what we want to see in Marvel Future Fight. Don't take away, just add. So yeah, you can still autoplay Multiverse Invasion, and you'll get at minimum 50,000 gold. And then as your characters get stronger, you'll be able to get at least 250,000 gold every single day. So that's a great reward. And then for those really sweaty players who really want to try, who don't play it auto, but play it manually, you can get up to 500,000 gold. So you can double it if you're first place. But that's first place, I believe, like, in the whole game. Like, I think every player is going to be in this rank. It's not going to be like a small server like Squad Battle where there's only 100 people. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult, and you're going to see massive whales and you know, familiar content creators up here at number 1. But again, this refreshes every single day, so you're going to get this gold every single day. So it's an extra whatever gold, 1.5 million gold or something like that per week. So it's kind of nice. Not a lot of gold, but it's a nice reward. Then they have a lot of improvements to Giant Boss Raid Dormammu, which is excellent. They added a bunch of tips to sort of explain the game mode. They've also added some additional, you know, information with the books and like how you farm them and when you farm them. And they're adding more books to more days. So it seems like you can farm more of the Vishanti books. We'll have to see. I'm not going to try to decipher this text because it's kind of confusing. It sounds like there's no cap on the number of books you can farm in a day. I don't think that's what they meant, but we'll have to just wait and see. There's no longer going to be a timer when you beat Dormammu. So when you currently beat Dormammu, there's a 5-second timer as he dies, and if you beat the boss with 5 seconds or less left, you lose because the timer keeps going down, but his animation of dying is still going. So the timer will stop as soon as he's dead, but the animation for him dying and disappearing will continue. So that's a really good change. It means you don't have to beat him with more than 5 seconds left anymore. They improved the issue of not being able to return or go to the mindless zone. So for players who are on lower end devices, they were getting trapped in the mindless zone. They're going to be able to return, hopefully. And then they've actually made the GBR a little bit easier. So they made Dormammu a little bit easier. They removed the pattern where all of your buffs get removed. So you don't have to switch characters anymore to refresh your buffs. They also removed that effect for Ultron. So with Infinity Ultron, when he's optimizing, you have to switch characters because he removes all your buffs. You're not going to have to do that anymore. So that pattern is gone. I like that change, but I also don't like that change. I like the fact that you had to switch characters. It made it a little bit more interesting. It made it a little bit different than other game modes where you don't have to switch. And it made bringing 2 DPS more sensible because you would switch from one DPS to another and you could continue pumping out damage. However, it is annoying for some players, and it does make the boss a little bit easier. You can do more damage faster, sooner, so I can understand. But they also increased his damage. So they made him easier and harder somehow. So yeah. And then there's a bunch of upgrades to the shield archive system, which is mainly for gaining instinct buffs. Now, I haven't made a video about this yet, but what I want you to know is that instinct doesn't really matter for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 characters. Instinct very much so matters for tier 4 characters. Instinct is huge because you get a massive instinct buff when you go to tier 4. That's actually the biggest stat bump that you get is to your instinct. And so Iron Man's instinct goes from like 500 to 3,500 when he goes to tier 4. It's a massive upgrade, and that matters for when you have his artifact. So I just want you guys to know that. Don't panic about it or anything, but they've basically just added a bunch. They've added 16 new Shield Archive collections, so you can just passively farm for these while you're doing existing content. It's not new content that you have to farm, but when you're doing the existing content, you'll find these items, and they're all thematically based on characters and you know, missions and stages from the Marvel Universe. So they're very, very cool, like not so friendly neighbors, and it's Sandman, Vulture, Dr. Octopus, and Mysterio's equipment. And then you have those rewards there. Those rewards are one-time rewards, so they're not farmable repeatedly, but the instinct rewards are very, very good. I will say this, they're very good, specifically for tier 4 characters, like being able to get 5,000 instinct attack. They've also increased the amount of instinct that the rewards will give you. So this is going to matter if you haven't paid any attention to the Shield Archive, and I'm guessing a lot of you watching haven't, because when I made the Shield Archive guide video, it got very few views. Go back and watch it and reacquaint yourself with this system, and probably favorite some of these by clicking this button here, and then start maybe not like farming them hardcore, but just paying attention and collecting these sort of slowly, because you collect them for free by farming existing content, and it's going to definitely matter in the future. And we'll definitely be able to see in a year or a year and a half, we'll be able to see the players who farmed these more intelligently and more carefully, and how much stronger their tier 4s are than players who, you know, just said, nah, whatever, this doesn't matter, and then they just didn't pay attention, and then a year later or whatever, they're trying to play catch up and farm these, because now suddenly instinct matters for tier 4. So yeah, I just want to put that out there as a little PSA for you guys. You know, it does matter for tier 4s. And then the incomplete Shield Archive data will show up on missions, so you know which missions drop which items in case you want to farm specific ones. You can turn off that function so that it doesn't show. And then they've said that like the instinct stat rewards are going to be improved, and then if you've already collected that stat, it's just going to automatically upgrade. We have the new artifacts for Thor, for Mighty Thor, and Valkyrie, and then the 3 amigos. Thor's buff is pretty good. It increases his lightning damage by a percentage of his lightning resist, and then it also increases his damage to villains. But again, it's that second line there, an additional 0.5% of total instinct. Total instinct. That's why instinct matters for tier 4s. Jane Foster's artifact just increases her damage to enemies with more than 50% HP. This is generally an ABX artifact, so we're going to have to see if she's better than Scarlet Witch already as a universal female hero. I don't know. Valkyrie's artifact is a support artifact. It's going to increase basic damage to bosses for all allies. Then we have Angela and Scourge, who have the exact same artifact, which actually kind of pisses me off. They could have been a little bit more creative with this. And then Destroyer is the one that excites me. So I'm simultaneously happy and sad. This is pretty much the theme of this of these patch notes. Angela and Scourge, I'm like, lame, very uninspired. But then Destroyer is very spicy. Restores HP equal to 5% of reflected damage dealt to target. Restores bonus HP equal to 10% of his total instinct. That's very high as a percentage. Can restore up to 5% HP with a 1-second cooldown. That means if you can maximize Destroyer's instinct and you have a 6-star artifact for him, he could heal 5% per second as long as he's getting hit, like Wolverine. A 5% heal per second. That's so good. That's insane. Destroyer might be a legitimate PvP threat if you can, you know, put the pieces together and build him like that. So yeah, you're absolutely going to need the artifact, but yeah, I'm very, very excited for that. I might just pick up a 4-star version of his artifact when it's in the selector, because that's so cool. And then we have the new Future Pass here. We have an icon for Gorr. We have the free icon from the Legendary Battle. And then we have these two icons. These icons look really cool. I love them. And then I see Gorr and I want to cry. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. We have the new uniform collection. Again, seeing the uniform collection probably means that if we're getting Gorr, he's not going to get a uniform at all. Again, it makes me happy and sad at the same time. They're adding information about mighty and brilliant CTPs to the custom to the Marvel Universe tab. They are letting you check the leader and ultimate skills when you're changing uniforms now. And then they're doing a bunch of bug changes. So, like I said, they're removing the buff removal. So the buff removal thing that happens in Infinity Ultron when he's optimizing, they're removing that effect. They're also removing the problem where the dimension rifts don't show up unless you log out of the game and log back in. You can check some details on tier 4 heroes. You can delete your own account if you want. Some people who had problems seeing the Alliance chat will now be able to see it. And then another thing, oh right, they're buffing the Dimension Rift farming. So before, this was the only reward you got for farming a Dimension Rift, and you only got it once, even though you can farm 3 rifts per day. Now, you're going to get that reward on the first time, along with 350 card crafting cubes and 200 CTP, 20 CTP reforging cores. And then when you do your second rift, you're going to get 400 cubes and another 30 cores. So this is really, really good for players who were struggling to farm any stage past 1 for the Dimension Rift. So now, even if you can only farm stage 1 of the Dimension Rift, you can guarantee yourself at least 350 cubes a day, plus whatever you get from the rift in 30 minutes. And then if you do 2 rifts, even though it's more energy, you can guarantee yourself at minimum 750 cubes, plus whatever you get from the Dimension Rifts. Now, they did say that they are going to adjust the amount of cubes and cores you could acquire from a run. So they're probably going to lower the amount of cubes that you can get. We'll have to do some new math and some new testing to figure out if stage 3 is still the most optimal stage. Right now, the sort of the logic is farm stage 3 as fast as you can. Unless you're a whale or an endgame player, then you should farm stage 6 as fast as you can, like difficulty 6, as long as you can farm it in less than like a minute and 40 seconds kind of thing. So we'll have to see if that logic still remains, but this is a really good change for lower end accounts who cannot farm higher stages. This is very, very good. At minimum, if you just do 2 rifts, you're getting almost 1.5, you're getting at least 1.5 times, if not 2 times more than you could previously get from doing GBR like 7 times a day. And then there's some more game error fixes, including the CTP of Insight effect being applied to other allies in co-op modes. Quite a few content creators made videos or sort of like posts about this saying, you know, hey, only one person in GBR has to bring an Insight CTP and it'll apply to everybody. Apparently that was a bug and that's not going to happen anymore. So yeah, a lot of really good stuff in these patch notes. I'm really happy for a lot of it. A lot of, you know, new stuff, a lot of improved stuff, a lot of better rewards. But I'm really sad that there's no mention of Gorr besides the Legendary Battle. I'm really scared we're not going to get him as a character, or I'm scared that he's going to be like Wenwu and he's just going to be garbage. I don't know what the devs are thinking. I don't know if they don't know and they don't realize how much we want Gorr. Like, maybe they think he's not a popular character. He's super cool. So if the devs are watching this and they're planning on not releasing Gorr or releasing him as like some lame-o tier 2, please stop. Please just give us a super badass, super strong Gorr. You know, otherwise, yeah, players are going to be pissed, man. Anywho, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. I'll be live on Twitch later today for a little bit, and then we'll be live tonight as soon as the update is live. So as soon as you start downloading it, go hit up twitch.tv/Cynicalex, and I will see you there. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.